All right, today we're going to crack open one of the most, let's be honest, skipped over parts of the entire Bible, the very first chapter of Matthew. But here's the thing. With a little help from some ancient Coptic commentary, we're going to see how this seemingly dry family tree is actually a revolutionary message about a king that absolutely nobody saw coming. Okay, let's just dive right in. So, right out of the gate, Matthew hits us with this puzzle. I mean, why would you start the story of Jesus with this long, sprawling list of names? It feels less like the beginning of a world-changing movement and more like a page out of an old history book. But what if this list isn't just a list? What if it's actually a code? To crack that code, we first have to get inside Matthew's head and understand what he's really trying to do here. And this is where it gets really interesting. See, Matthew isn't just telling a story. He's basically acting like a lawyer. He is building a meticulous, evidence-based case. And he's making that case for a very specific jury, first-century Jewish Christians. He wants to convince them beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jesus is the one they've been waiting for. And who exactly were they waiting for? The Messiah, the Anointed One. Now, you got to understand, for them, this wasn't some vague spiritual title. No, this meant a literal, powerful king, a descendant of the great King David, who would finally show up, kick out their enemies, and restore Israel to its former glory. But here's the brilliant twist in Matthew's whole argument. He takes that powerful expectation and he completely flips it on its head. I mean, think about it. His audience is looking for a military conqueror, but Matthew gives them a spiritual savior. They want freedom from Roman soldiers. He offers them freedom from sin itself. They were dreaming of a king just for the nation of Israel. He reveals a king for all of humanity. So let's go back to that family tree. This is where Matthew starts laying down the evidence for his case, hiding some pretty explosive secrets right there in plain sight. He kicks things off with the two biggest names in Jewish history. By calling Jesus the son of David, he's making a direct, undeniable claim to the royal throne. And by calling him the son of Abraham, he's connecting him all the way back to the very first promise God ever made to his people. So right from the jump, Matthew is basically saying, look, Jesus has both the legal and the spiritual credentials to be the king. But then he does something really specific, something strange. He organizes the entire family tree around the number 14. And believe me, this is no accident. He breaks all of Jewish history into 3 acts, and each one has exactly 14 generations. The first set of 14 shows Israel's glorious rise, peaking with King David. The second set shows its tragic fall into shame and exile. And that final 14? That represents the long, quiet period of just waiting for a savior. You know, ancient commentators saw this amazing parallel. The 42 generations mirror the 42 places the Israelites stopped in the desert on their way from slavery to the Promised Land. It's a journey of redemption, hidden in the numbers. But Matthew's most radical move, the one that would have absolutely floored his readers, isn't in the structure. It's in the people he includes. Because in a world where family trees were all about the men, he deliberately, and kind of shockingly, includes 4 women. And they are not the women you would expect. He doesn't mention Sarah or Rebecca, right? The great matriarchs? No. Instead, he includes Tamar, a woman at the center of a huge family scandal, Rahab, a Canaanite prostitute, Ruth, a foreigner from an enemy nation, Moab, and Bathsheba, who is only identified as the wife of the man David had killed. 2 of them were non-Jews, and 2 were connected to pretty serious sin. Matthew is sending a signal here that is impossible to miss. This new kingdom, it isn't for the perfect. It's for the outsiders, the foreigners, and the sinners. Just listen to how the ancient writer St. John Chrysostom put it. He said that the king who came for sinners was born of sinners so that he could destroy sin. That was the whole point. He had to enter into our messy, broken story to heal it from the inside out. So then, the argument zooms in. It pivots from this grand sweep of history right down to the intense, personal crisis of one man, Joseph. So, we meet Joseph. He's described as a righteous man, and he's betrothed to Mary. You have to remember, in that culture, betrothal was as legally binding as marriage is today. And then, boom, the crisis hits. He finds out Mary is pregnant, and he knows, with 100% certainty, that the child is not his. I mean, can you imagine? He's faced with this impossible situation that seems to have only one heartbreaking explanation. Now, for a just man, Back then, upholding the law was everything, and the law demanded a public and severe penalty for what looked like adultery. But Joseph's righteousness, his justice, it was deeper than that. It was completely wrapped in compassion. To protect her, he decides he'll just end the engagement quietly. He chooses to take the whispers and the shame on himself rather than see her ruin.
And it's right there, in that moment of quiet, compassionate integrity, that God steps in. An angel appears in a dream. And not only does he confirm Mary is innocent, but he reveals the child's divine origin. Joseph's personal crisis becomes the very stage for a world-changing revelation.
And this revelation, well, it pulls all the threads of Matthew's argument together, finally showing us the true nature of this strange new king. See, the angel doesn't just solve Joseph's dilemma. He gives the child two specific names, and these names basically act as the mission statement for this whole new kind of kingdom. First, Jesus, or Yeshua in Hebrew, which literally means Yahweh Saves. But the angel is incredibly specific about what he will save them from. Not the Romans, not political enemies. He will save his people from their sins. Wow. That one little phrase completely redefines the entire mission of the Messiah. And the second name is Emmanuel, which means God with us. And this reveals the method of his kingship. He isn't going to rule from some far-off golden throne. His power is found in his presence. He is God choosing to live right here with us, with the broken, the outsiders, and the sinners he came to save. So, the puzzle of that long family tree, it's solved. And it's not boring at all. It's a brilliant legal document. It proves Jesus is the promised king. And then, in the very same breath, it totally redefines what king even means. His kingdom is for everybody. His mission is freedom from our own brokenness. And his power isn't found in military might, but in this radical, world-changing love and forgiveness. When you get right down to it, the first chapter of Matthew isn't just an introduction. It's a revolutionary manifesto. It's a complete reimagining of power, of kingship, and of what it really, truly means to be saved. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. If Matthew's opening argument is this radical, if it's designed to completely upend his audience's deepest expectations about kingship, what other assumptions is he about to challenge as this story unfolds?